Today's episode of Pool Magazine podcast is proudly sponsored by the PSP Deck Expo. The International Pool Spa Patio Expo, co-located with Deck Expo, is where all segments of the industry gather to stay well-informed of the latest trends, market directions, and technology. Come for the 135,000 plus square feet of products, suppliers, and education. And stay longer for networking, special events, and experiences. This year's Expo in Dallas will be held from November 9th through November 14th. To learn more about attending the PSP Deck Expo, visit us on the web at www.poolspapatio.com.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Trusty, editor of Pool Magazine, and today I'm chatting with Jason Jovag, owner of Hammerhead Aquatics. Jason was on our show a few months ago to discuss his company and what they do, and Hammerhead Aquatics is a leader in aquatic glazing. I brought him back on the show to discuss some really interesting projects that his company was recently involved with. It's a pleasure to have you with us again on the show, Jason.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So you're just popping up in my timeline all the time now, man. I mean, it seems like almost every week I see you're jetting off to work on some project or another. And I saw you recently were working with something with Johnny Nalepa on a new project. I think I saw a post from you last week that said you were heading over to Florida to photograph a couple projects.
Yeah, correct. I was just down with Johnny as well as Jimmy Smith out there taking some pictures and photos, getting some social media stuff going for a project we recently completed, the Siesta Key market.
Well, what's that project all about?
It was unique. So it was the house that was filmed on MTV's Siesta Key TV show. Once the show had wrapped, the owner kind of wanted to put a new facelift on the pool. So they went in and reconstructed the pool. We did an addition by adding a subterranean four-sided support acrylic window looking down into what is going to be a bar. So project came out great. You know, these subterranean or four-sided support windows into occupied space below, you know, they always have a very good presentation for them, you know, for whether it's the ambient lighting throughout the day or if it's going to be, you know, the LEDs or different types of lighting in the pool, you know, for the evening.
Sure. I mean, I'm looking at the photos of that project right now. As a matter of fact, I think you did another one where one of my Facebook friends, Danny Riley, recently tagged you in another collaboration project with Ray Corral, Guy Wood, and Kyle McDaniel, right?
Yeah, correct. So that project was done a while ago back in Texas. We did 3 windows over there. Amazing design that everybody kind of collaborated on to be able to come up with the best sheet utilization for the space that was there. It came out absolutely awesome. You know, Ray does a great job with his tile and his layout. Stewart's design was awesome. Guy Wood is an executor of top-notch quality out there, and it really came together well.
I just spoke with them yesterday, as a matter of fact, about a project that they are doing with Randy Angel. Yeah, Guy Wood is tremendous. I saw that you're working on something right now for the Columbus Zoo for their otter exhibit. You did quite a bit of work for them, if I'm not mistaken. This is your 4th project with the zoo, from my understanding.
Yeah, correct. We've been at the zoo for years. Our first exhibit we did out there was a grizzly bear exhibit. Then we went into polar bears. After that, we did seal and sea lion, which is an amazing pavilion. That was probably one of the most complicated zoo and aquarium projects that we worked on, just based on geometry and really getting this thing to line up correctly. There's an all acrylic tunnel that's in there that typically most tunnels are straight. This one's actually faceted and kind of goes around a curve. And it really showcases a great perspective of underwater viewing for the seals and sea lions.
Well, those zoos are like right in your wheelhouse. I mean, that's your bread and butter, is those aquariums and those displays for animals. I saw a few photos of a project I know you were working on for the Milwaukee Zoo as well. I mean, what were you doing on that project?
So ironically, we remodeled that project about 10 years ago from the original construction. And we did it then. Then they decided to change the configuration. It's the entry pavilion right when you walk through the entrance of the zoo. And they got some CapEx money there to kind of expand, you know, giving the animals more open area to be able to swim, kind of reconfigured the design a little bit and changed some of the windows around. So it'll be a good exhibit when it opens. I think it's scheduled to open in about a month. But yeah, you'll be able to get up close and personal with the penguins.
You certainly get around, that's for sure. I mean, I love your posts because you're always up to something new. Anytime I hop on Facebook, I'm never disappointed. All these awesome projects you got going on just blow me away.
Traveling is always, unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast for what we do. You know, the zoos and aquariums are not built that often in Vegas, so we got to go where the work is. And, you know, clients like Columbus or Milwaukee or SeaWorld or San Diego Zoo, They always tend to be coming up with new innovative designs and reworking their facilities. Gives the guest a continuous experience as they go through the zoos over the years, so they're not looking, at the same exhibit.
When we wrote about the new St. Regis Resort a while back, I interviewed Ray Corral and Vito Mariano about that project, but I didn't get to find out until afterwards that Hammerhead Aquatics was also involved. And I was hoping that you could discuss what you and your firm did on that particular job.
Yeah, great project. So St. Regis there, half of the facility is a hotel, which is owned and managed by the Marriott. And the other half, there was 3 buildings that we did, was actually residential towers. So we installed 24 windows in all Bradford stainless steel vessels. So each one of these units has their own individual small plunge pool. So in 3 different buildings, 6 different stories, like I said, we did a total of 24 windows there, and that project came out amazing. I was out there last week kind of taking a look at it, waiting for some of the ownership to get back in there and finalize their design plans and get the ownership suites actually moved into and inhabited. But yeah, a lot of neat stuff going on there. That project came out great. It's definitely one of a kind for the St. Regis market. It's a world-class property for sure.
And you're always focused on the next thing. And I love to see all these amazing projects you're involved with. Just before our call, I was watching a video that you posted of a job that you collaborated with Bradford Products on a stainless steel rooftop pool project in downtown Miami, where the pool actually had to be delivered by helicopter. I mean, that video was so cool. How did Hammerhead Aquatics acrylic expertise come into play on that particular job?
It was definitely challenging. That was a renovation of a penthouse in downtown Miami. Building had been existing for a while. There was an existing pool that was there. Ownership wanted something a little bit more spectacular than what was there. So Bradford was brought in to recreate a new stainless vessel on this rooftop. As you saw in the video, in collaboration with Kizo Group, they went ahead and helicoptered the vessel up in several pieces and then did what Bradford does and go ahead and weld everything together and give them a great watertight vessel. We came in and installed 6 acrylic windows going around that pool, giving you a great view. And again, the ambient lighting out into the Miami Bay.
That video is so cool. I can't imagine just being on the street downtown Miami, just looking up and seeing this pool flying overhead. It's really cool. Now, I heard rumors. I haven't seen photos, but the words going around the campfire that you're involved in another big project in Beverly Hills. And I heard the words floating pool. I was hoping that you'd fill us in on the details of that particular job you got going on.
Yeah, it's a very unique project. So McLean Architecture is actually the architect designer there on that project. And what we're doing is we actually have an acrylic, a pool that's about 80% acrylic over another pool that's down on the lower level. We've got a series of 8 acrylic windows in the floor of the pool. And then at the very end of the pool, we've got an acrylic bonded U-shape assembly that cantilevers off the edge of the house structure. So as you're driving up through the area, what they call the bird streets, you'll be able to see this body of water kind of hanging off the side of the building. And that's all acrylic that's been fused together.
I got to take a look at this. I'll have to hop on your Instagram after we chat. A while back, I interviewed you and we spoke about the price of acrylic and how production costs were rising. And I know after 2023, prices for many different construction materials like wood, concrete, PVC began to soften a bit. I mean, have you guys seen any relief on prices on the acrylic side of the business?
We've seen a little bit of cost decrease on the acrylic. Us, since we do travel so much, I mean, the travel related costs have gone up anywhere from 12 to 15% across the board. Whether that's hotel, flights, rental cars. Again, as we're always on the move, we're not physically tied down to one location. We're seeing those costs increase a little bit, but to the point, construction materials, silicone, our normal waterproofing materials that we use, that has kind of flatlined off a little bit. We haven't seen too much more spiking going on in that market.
Sure. So just like from a logistics and travel standpoint, I mean, the cost of living going up, prices increase based off of that.
Correct.
Well, moving into these post-pandemic years, I mean, what have you seen as a business owner as far as demand? I mean, have residential or commercial projects increased or decreased since the end of COVID?
I think they've increased from our standpoint. We've seen an increase in it. I think that, COVID really kind of put people into a sense where, they wanted to stay home a lot more, right? We watched the outdoor living pavilions and kind of this whole backyard oasis kind of explode during that time frame, right? People weren't traveling. They wanted to have that oasis, their own piece of paradise there in their own backyard. And I think that was, coming out of COVID, that's kind of been the driver as we watch some of these designers create bigger and better backyards for people that, don't want to travel as much anymore. So for us, the demand for our product and our services has definitely increased after COVID.
Sure. I mean, I was speaking with Sabina Hickman, the CEO of the PHTA this week, and we were pretty much discussing the same topic. And I was alluding to the fact that there's this perception in the industry that we're in a recession, right? But the fact of the matter is that the numbers that indicate whether or not the country is in a recession indicate that we're not. All right, gross domestic product in our country has been up. We see an increase in GDP. But I know that you work and collaborate with lots of different builders and designers. I mean, I was wondering, what's the sentiment like among your peers in the industry right now in terms of the outlook or forecast for our industry?
We're seeing a lot of designs right now. I mean, there's a lot of designs coming out. There's a lot of pricing exercises coming out. I think that, this being an election year, things are shelved a little bit. I think everyone's kind of waiting to see what happens in November. So we'll see how that kind of, happens here after the election. But from our side, on a design standpoint, we're getting new designs daily. So I don't think that the building growth is slowing down, but I think there's going to be a lot of people that are cautious on how they're going to proceed, into 25, after the election.
Sure. Cautiousness, I get. Doom and gloom, I don't. So
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily that. I mean, we deal with a lot of high-end builders and a lot of high net worth people, and they have been, I don't want to say it recession proof, but there's a big demand for what we do for the product and its use. So we haven't really seen too much of a slowdown for the, higher end projects.
Well, I'm glad things are remaining healthy for you. And I know a lot of the jobs that you work on are years in the planning and development. But what's next on the horizon for Hammerhead Aquatics moving into 2025?
We've got a couple of good projects coming up. There's a lot of international work going on. There's some commercial stuff that we're tracking with several designers on. So we've got some really, new cutting edge stuff that's coming out, with some of the bigger designers. We've got some Hilton stuff coming up. We've got a couple of resorts in the Bahamas that are coming up. We've got a big project coming up in Anguilla. And, some exciting more things coming on with our zoo and aquarium work as well. Design wise, utilizing our materials effectively and kind of pushing the boundaries like we've always done. So I think, we'll be able to get some stuff out here in market, at least share some conceptual stuff coming up here relatively soon. But we don't see a slowdown in 25 and we're looking forward to the challenges that are coming ahead.
Sounds like you're busy, busy, busy. Well, Jason, absolute pleasure getting the chance to reconnect today and learn more about what your company is up to. And I appreciate you taking time out today to chat with us and look forward to meeting up with you at one of the events this upcoming trade show season.
Yeah, we'll be out there in Dallas at the International Pool and Spa Expo. So anybody who wants to come out, we will be there.
Well, that's all the time we have left today. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow. And we'll catch you next time on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast.
Today's episode of Pool Magazine Podcast is proudly sponsored by the PSP Deck Expo. The International Pool Spa Patio Expo, co-located with Deck Expo, is where all segments of the industry gather to stay well-informed of the latest trends, market directions, and technology. Come for the 135,000 plus square feet of products, suppliers, and education. And stay longer for networking, special events, and experiences. This year's Expo in Dallas will be held from November 9th through November 14th. To learn more about attending the PSP Deck Expo, visit us on the web at www.poolspapatio.com.